And it doesn't mean you live life without fear, because fear is a natural emotion. But to live life really to the fullest and as fearlessly as you can.
Thank you so much for sparing your time with us today.
An absolute pleasure.
When we spend time together sharing our life stories in Australia and also here in Korea, I found that you're such an amazing, inspiring woman in many ways. But today we're going to focus on the theme of your book, Aging Fearlessly.
Yeah, I love that name. It really encompasses a way of living.
Yeah, so actually I think this is a really bold title to put on because it actually implies that we all have the fear of aging, don't we? Yeah, so this is a universal fear. And you actually write about that. So this is not, only about the wrinkles we fear, but it's really all aspects of life. So tell us more about your story. How do you overcome your fear of aging, and how did you start writing this subject?
Well, first of all, being an Australian, it's very hard to not gain the wrinkles because our sun is so fierce. so anyone who lives in Australia really has to be very careful, especially someone like me who's very fair-skinned and red-haired. But writing the book was an absolute pleasure. And to tell you the truth, the name actually came after I'd really written the book, and I was brainstorming with myself on a big piece of paper, trying to come up with really what was the theme of the book. And fearlessly fell in after aging. And I think it's a way that you have to live life. And it doesn't mean you live life without fear, because fear is a natural emotion. But to live life really to the fullest and as fearlessly as you can.
Yeah. So actually you do a lot of activities to have some social contribution, and you write a book, and you're still very active and very passionate.
Yeah, well, I'm the type of person really that I thrive on being busy and helping others. And I think one of the things in life is that you have to surround yourself with a community of like-minded people, because that community helps you to thrive. People who are, they have the same moral values as you. They have similar interests to you. And we all have different interests. And that community, that tribe, is one of the things that helps me to age fearlessly.
Okay. Yeah. And you are also a host of a podcast, right?
I am. I do. I have a podcast called Aging Fearlessly. Well, hello there. I'm Karensander. You are listening to Aging Fearlessly, a program for the over 50s, those uniquely wonderful baby boomers. My aim is to educate, motivate and inspire you to embrace the exciting journey of life for decades to come. So stay tuned to meet a variety of guests who will share their stories and passions to help us gain insight into the ways to live a happier, healthier life. I interview doctors, I interview people who are wellness coaches, people who talk about colour and how colour can make us look more vibrant and helps us to age less. It's funny how all these little things go towards helping us to age even more gracefully, in a way. And I interview people who are doing really interesting things like adventure tours, about travel, about their passions, about their hobbies. Whether they're in a choir, it might be a choir that the singing brings them joy and that community helps. Yeah, so it can be anything. So my podcast is filled with interesting people.
Interesting stories.
Yeah, interesting stories. Yeah.
Okay. So if you have any other tips or values that you are applying to your daily life, and if that can be also applied to our lives, do you have anything like that?
Yeah, so I really believe that you have to keep your affairs in order. I mean, in Australia, we talk about having our wills in place, having our wishes in place for when we do pass. For staying on top of your medical health, you know, any physical issues or ailments, your emotional health is really, really important as you age, and also your mental health. There's much more focus in Australia these days on mental health.
Mental health.
And as you age, you can become depressed about all these things that are going on in your body. But if you stay on top of them all the time, then there's less opportunity for them to take over and control your life, you know? So they're really important. Having a passion and a purpose. Why do you get up in the morning? You know, Simon Sinek says you've got to have a why. I'm very much a believer in having a why. And my why is the courses that I run, the events that I run, my podcast, and communicating with people and helping other people to live a better life.
But actually, you retired some time ago.
Well, I retired 18 months ago from the workforce, but my book I wrote 5 years ago, and my podcast I started about a year and a half later when I was working at a community radio station. See, that became one of my passions, working and spreading the word of aging fearlessly through radio, which then I found I could use those interviews to become part of a podcast. And each one of those things that you do sort of leads to something else, which brings me to the point of lifelong education, because my life is filled with being educated, staying up with the things that I need to know, like social media or how to create this or how to edit a podcast. So it's keeping your mind very active all the time. So you don't have time to focus on the ails, the things that ail you. And you don't have time to get depressed or anxious or you know, it's really good for your emotional health.
So you kept learning all the new technologies and all the new trends.
You know, because I'm 67 and I'm really proud of myself when a 30-year-old or someone comes up and says, oh, do you know about Canva? Oh, yeah, I use Canva. Oh, do you know about Fiverr? Do you know, oh, yeah, I outsource to Fiverr when I can't do something because I can't do everything. But there's experts that can help me to do the things that I can't do.
Yeah, that's excellent. So I heard that you also created this project called The Story Room.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so you're hosting this live events like every month. So what is your next dream?
Well, I want to turn the live events into something that people can access globally by buying a backstage pass. So something that's affordable that allows them to come in and see the stories that we're telling. That live event has truly changed my life because it really helps me by hearing other people's stories, because sharing stories does change lives. And when we hear other people's stories, we realise that our own stories that we tell ourselves aren't the only thing in the world, that everyone goes through difficult times, there's struggles, there's joy. They're all the natural emotions that we go through, and sharing those stories helps people to understand that we're human and that it's a part of being human. So yeah, that project's been great. And my next project at the moment is, which is why I'm here in Seoul, I'm on my way to Mongolia to trek for cancer research to raise funds. So I keep fairly active as well.
Yeah, so you're still very into the social contribution, sharing your life and sharing your stories with others. Yeah, so that really keeps you going like very actively, and you just totally forget about your age, numbers.
Yeah, I do. I mean, sometimes my body really hurts because, you know, it's not getting younger. But you have to keep working on it. And I've got friends that talk about, you know, making sure you're looking after, watching how you balance, all these activities that, you know, keeping your body working, because the minute you stop your body from working and not doing the things that it needs to keep going, you go backwards, you take steps backwards. But I think the key is, my book I wrote, Aging Fearlessly for Women. Don't be defined by a number, because my age, 67, is only a number. And I don't walk around thinking, oh, I'm 67, I can't do that. I'm more focused on what I'm going to do today, what I'm going to do tomorrow, and planning for the future, but not focusing or dwelling on the negatives of the future.
Oh, that's right. So you always like look forward to your brighter future, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that
Even though we're aging still.
Yeah, because you see some people who age and they'll be well into their 90s and they're still mentally really flourishing and reading and learning and going out and doing things. It might not have been the things they were doing when they're 50, but they still have quality of life. And I think that's the key, is quality of life.
Yeah. So before you worked in the pharmaceutical industry and also communication industry, and now you are totally independent and creating your own world, your own projects. So which is more fulfilling, you think?
Creating my own project.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
because there's nothing greater in world than seeing something you're doing growing and something that you're doing bringing so much joy and pleasure to others. And I'm referring to the story room, which is how I met you through the storytelling industry. And it just is so wonderful when people come to you and say, you know, first of all, Karen, I shared a story on your stage and it changed my life. But then someone in the audience comes and says, oh my God, I now know what I want to do. And there's things like that that happen every day. And I'm getting emotional because it lights me up. It fills me up.
Yeah.
And that's the passion.
And that's your life purpose.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, so you're finally on your real life purpose.
At times, though, I have to admit, it has its challenges because it's getting bigger than me. And so that's
another fear.
Sometimes I shake my head and go, oh my God, why? And I go, no, you know why. And you just have to reach out and ask for help and know that when it's the right time, things naturally come to you, like meeting you. You know, people and things come into your life for a reason. I'm very much these days a believer. You know, when you need something, if you need it and it's necessary, it'll come to you.
Oh, yes, truly.
So,
wow, thank you so much, Karen, for sharing your insight today. Yeah, it's been wonderful to have you here today. And I hope you have a great memory from Korea.
Well, it's wonderful to be here and to have you showing us around Korea and as my first time here on my way to Mongolia. But yeah, it's great to talk about what I'm doing and to learn more about what you're doing in this wonderful project that you have. So thank you very much.
Yeah, this is great. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful journey to Mongolia as well. Okay.
That's scary. Even that's scary. But yeah, no, it will be a wonderful journey and it's for a very good cause.
Okay. Thank you.
Cheers.
So this is it for today's program. It's time to say cheerio to the wonderful Northern Beaches community. Join me next week for another episode of Aging Fearlessly. And now for a song written by Nick Howard, especially for the listeners. This is Karensander. Have a fantastic week. And remember, aging is inevitable and growing old is a choice.
The sun is shining bright outside. There's a sparkle in